grace and class when they saw it. In a few minutes, Ryne's daughter Lindsay and son Justin will offer more deeply personal thoughts than I possibly could. But Margaret asked me to speak today, I guess, to touch upon what baseball meant to Ryne and what he meant to the game. Among the many things that sets baseball apart is that in baseball, history matters and memories resonate more than in any other sport. No better example than June 23rd, 1984, the Sandberg Game, a regular season game that has a name, a single game that has had at least 3 documentaries made about it. A game that young fans know about today and fans generations from now will know about because it's a lasting part of Cub and baseball lore. In truth, I was little more than a bit player that day. I called the game on NBC, but somehow that alone created a 4-decade connection and friendship between Ryne and me, and it seemed that it was always topic number 1 every time our paths crossed, and it's the reason I'm standing here today. Sure, the game was a classic. The setting, perfect Saturday afternoon at Wrigley Field. The rivals, the Cardinals and the Cubs. And the fact that it was the NBC Game of the Week, back when the Game of the Week meant something very different. Very few games were nationally televised. Back then, those Saturday games often got higher ratings than some postseason games get today. So the whole nation, at least all the baseball fans it seemed, were watching that game. And the game was insane. The Cubs were down 7-1, they were down 9-3, they were down 9-8 when they came up in the 9th. Hall of Famer Bruce Sutter trying to close it out for the Cardinals when Ryne Sandberg homered to tie the game. Willie McGee hit for the cycle that day for the Cardinals, and his double produced the go-ahead run in the 10th. Then he scored an insurance run, 11-9. 2 outs, nobody on. Bottom of the 10th inning, Bobby Dernier works a walk on a 3-2 pitch. Up comes Ryne Sandberg again. Suter's still on the mound, and he homers to almost exactly the same place in the bleachers. It was almost like the same fan could have caught both. Now the place is going completely bananas, as Harry Carey put it. The game is tied again. We move on to the 11th, and who gets the winning hit? The last guy available on the Cub bench, Davey Owens, because, well, that's just baseball. A game in which someone who hit for the cycle is a footnote. The Sandberg Game. Now, in truth, both before and since, there have been some games, a few, not many, and some individual performances, again, a few, not many, that were comparable. But they just don't feel the same way because they didn't have all the elements all at once, including the perfect leading man. But perhaps the real and lasting significance of that game is that not only is it the signature game of an MVP season and a Hall of Fame career, not only did it serve notice to the rest of the country that the long woebegone Cubs were actually contenders, but that day and that season personified a drastically changed dynamic around the Cubs. Now, this is not to shortchange the Cubs of Ernie Banks and Ron Santo and Ferguson Jenkins and Billy Williams, but it had been a long time since the Cubs felt relevant, and all of a sudden, so many things came together all at once. Dallas Green had remade the team. WGN had become a superstation. So now there were Cub fans all around the country. Harry Carey, father, had come over from the South Side, bringing with him a certain measure of energy and personality. And so the whole vibe around the team had changed, and that game personified it. From that point forward, through good seasons and bad, it's never gone back to what it once was. The Cubs were still beloved, sure, but now they were cool and a hot ticket, and the phrase, "plenty of good seats still available," was seldom heard again around Wrigley Field. And for the first decade plus of this reimagining of what the Cubs were about, the face of the team, the signature player, the number 23 in Chicago before Michael Jordan, was Ryne Sandberg. The stats alone, the 9 Gold Gloves, the 10 All-Star appearances, the record at the time for career home runs by a second baseman, would have brought Ryne to Cooperstown. But beyond that, and in addition to the All-American boy appeal, what endeared him to fans and earned him universal respect within the game wasn't just what he did, but the way he did it. He was a flawless all-around player, talented and fundamentally sound, the kind of player any dad or youth coach could point to and say, that's the way you play the game. The way he approached the game, the way he played, was a result of who he was. And when his time at Cooperstown came, Ryne Sandberg, usually quiet and reserved, made a strong point about himself and his regard for the game. Here's part of what he said. Make a great play, act like you've done it before. Get a base hit, look for the coach, and get ready to run the bases. Hit a home run, put your head down, drop the bat, and run around the bases, because the name on the front is more important than the name on the back. That's respect. Many years later, on June 23rd, 2024, the 40th anniversary of the Sandberg Game, the Cubs, as you know, unveiled a statue in Ryne's honor at Wrigley Field. And at his request, that statue does not depict him in some heroic posture, the follow-through on a home run, a spectacular play. The signature for Ryne would have been ranging to his right and behind the bag at second base, making that whirling throw to first. No, here's what he wanted, and here's what he got. A statue of him in position, in fundamental position, ready to make any play, including the routine play. And on that day, among those he asked to speak were Larry Bowa and Sean Dunston, a nod toward his double play partners for all those years with the Cubs. The one memory that stands out most for me of that day was something that hadn't been planned. I looked behind me as I was introducing Ryne, and I saw up on the catwalk overlooking Gallagher Way, the entire Cub team led out there by Craig Counsell in uniform, just silently looking on. A sign of true respect, a grace note, just as Ryne, a man who made history without histrionics, would have wanted it. Through the years, stories abound of Ryne's kindness and generosity of spirit to just about everyone he encountered. So typical of Ryne, and as noted in this morning's program, among his last wishes was his desire to thank everyone, his teammates, his fellow Hall of Famers, his many friends, but also the people who work at the ballpark and all the fans who cheered him, shared their memories with him, wrote to him, and more recently, prayed for him. Ryne was appreciative and grateful to you all. And for myself and so many others here today and beyond, thank you, Ryne. Thank you for the great moments, and also for the sincere and abiding friendship. Just as baseball will never forget you, we will never forget you, and we will always honor your memory.